Keeper of the Lost Cities, Everblaze, Chapter 13. But Prentice is the plan, Sophie told herself for what felt like the 100th time, as she pulled her memory log from its hiding place in the bottom drawer of her desk. Alden had given her the teal book with the silver moonlark on the cover after she'd accidentally bottled quintessence, the highly dangerous fifth element which could only be collected from one of the 5 unmapped stars. And he'd revealed the truth about her past. She'd been created as part of Project Moonlark, the Black Swan's secret genetic experiment. And after she'd been born, they'd hidden classified secrets in her brain. The memories only resurfaced with the right trigger, so she'd been recording her dreams in her memory log, along with any clues that might lead her to her kidnappers, and any memories she'd recovered in the minds she'd probed. She flipped to Prentice's pages, her clammy fingers sticking to the pages as she studied the twisted nightmare scenes she'd recorded. Searching his mind had been one of the most terrifying things Sophie had ever experienced, and she couldn't imagine Prentice would want to live in that forever. But he doesn't know what he'll be waking up to, she reminded herself. A lot had changed since Prentice's mind had been broken. Years had passed, more than a decade. His son Wiley had grown up without him, and his wife. Sophie didn't know all the details, only that something had gone wrong with Sarah? While Sarah was light leaping, and she'd ended up fading away. And Prentice had no idea. He would wake up expecting to find his wife and son waiting for him. Instead, he'd learn his wife was dead, and his son had been raised and adopted by an old family friend. Would he be able to handle all that tragedy? Or would the grief and guilt and anger simply shatter him all over again? Sophie sighed, stuffing the memory log away. Mind healing was turning out to be way more complicated than she expected. And of course the Black Swan hadn't given her any guidance except for wait for instruction and stick to the plan. Unless she ran to her door and threw it open, slammed into a muscly goblin chest. Ow, she complained, pinching the bridge of her smashed nose. You don't have to barricade me in. Actually, I do. I figured it was only a matter of time before you tried to sneak away. I'm not sneaking away. I was going down to check the caves to see if the Black Swan replied to my note. So you weren't going to pay a secret visit to Elwyn on the way back? Why would I? Sandor reached for her wrist, pointing at the ugly reddish bruise she'd forgotten about. It's not a big deal, she said, trying to pull her arm away. If you don't mind, I think I should be the one to decide that. She rolled her eyes as Sandor sniffed the injury. If you lick me, I'm going to kick you. That would be like a kitten kicking a bear. His smile faded as he took another whiff. This is more than a bruise. I think he twisted the skin as he squeezed. Or maybe it happened when I tried to pull away. Her little sister used to do something like that to her all the time. It always stung like a burn. Sandor frowned. Well, it does seem like a surface wound, so it will probably clear up with salve. But if it's still there tomorrow, I will insist we stop at the healing center on your lunch break. Agreed? Sophie nodded, hoping one of the billions of ointments Adeline kept around the house in case of Sophie emergencies would work. She was already holding the record for the most physician visits that year, and Foxfire had only been in session a few weeks. Can I go now? She asked, pulling her wrist free. Sandor shook his head. I'll check the cave. You stay here and treat that wound before it starts to fester. How do I know you won't hide their reply if you don't like it? Because secrets hinder my ability to protect you, whether I'm keeping them or you are. We need to work together. I know you're not used to trusting people, Sophie, but I'm on your side. I wish you would believe that. Sophie touched the edge of her bruise. Her skin really was stinging, and she didn't exactly love going to that creepy cave. Fine. Good. I'll be back in a few minutes, Sandor said, already on his way to the door. And I hope when I come back, I'll find you sleeping peacefully. It's the middle of the afternoon, she reminded him. Sounds like the perfect time for a nap. Trust me, you need one. He left before she could argue, and Sophie checked her reflection in the floor-length mirror, surprised at how shadowed her eyes were. Ugh, what'd you do? Get into a fist fight with your pillow? Vertina asked, as her tiny face appeared in the upper corner of the glass. Sophie knew spectral mirrors were just a clever bit of elven programming, but she was always surprised by how lifelike Vertina seemed, and how much she wished she could reach through the glass and strangle her. If Vertina hadn't been such close friends with Jolie, Sophie would have left the obnoxious talking mirror to gather dust for an eternity. You should really think about using glimmer dust, Vertina said, tossing her black hair. It worked wonders on Jolie, and she had the worst dark circles I've ever seen. Was Jolie having a hard time sleeping? Towards the end, yeah. But that was when what? Sophie asked. Have you thought about trying gold eyeshadow? It would really bring out the flecks in those freaky eyes of yours. When what? Sophie pressed. She'd been trying to get information out of Vertina for weeks, but so far all she'd gotten was snippy makeover advice. Vertina chewed her lip. I can't tell you. Jolie said I couldn't tell anyone, even if she was gone. Especially if she was gone. Wait, are you saying she knew she might die? Vertina squeaked and tossed her hair to hide behind it. I can't say any more. Not unless what? Sophie asked. If you don't know, I can't help you. What does that even mean? Sophie was shouting now, but she didn't care if anyone heard her. Not that it made a difference. I'm sorry, Vertina told her, and it almost seemed like she meant it. I can't say anything else. I've probably already said too much. She blinked away in a faint click. Sophie stared at the empty glass, not sure what surprised her more, that Vertina could turn herself off, or that Vertina was really hiding an important secret. There had to be some sort of password, or maybe something she was supposed to show Vertina in order to get her to share. Sophie tried to figure out what it would be, as she searched the huge ebony armoire? I have no idea what that word is, in her bathroom, for a salve to treat her wrist. Adeline had bought blister blast and scratches and splits and abrasion persuasion, but Sophie grabbed the bruised cruise, hoping it wasn't made of any sort of animal pee, as she was smearing the yellowish sludge over her wound. The cream felt prickly as it sank in, like she was rubbing her skin with a burr. The longer it set in, the hotter the zings grew, until Sophie finally gave in and scrubbed her arm with soap and cold water. How's the wound? Sandor asked, making her jump so hard she splashed herself. Sorry, he said, handing her one of the feather-soft towels. I thought you heard me come in. Actually, you walk pretty quiet, despite your giant goblin feet. I do not have giant goblin feet. She moved her foot next to hers, which looked like a lizard next to a dinosaur. Okay, maybe I do, Sandor conceded. Let me see your wrist. Sophie reluctantly held out her hand, revealing the angry welt. I must have used the wrong ointment, but I'll try a different one in a few minutes. I just want to let my skin calm down. If it's not better in the morning, I know. So what'd you find in the cave? Sandor reached into his pocket, removing a clear glass vial with a note curled inside, the sign of the swan. A black curve like a swan's neck had been pressed into a wax seal on the stopper. I waited for you to open it, he said, as she grabbed the vial and pried off the seal. Her pulse pounded in her ears as she removed the crystal stopper. She'd gotten dozens of notes from the Black Swan before, but this one felt bigger. This time, they responded to her, but her excitement quickly faded as she read their carefully written message. Your request is denied, for your own protection.